Have you ever just stopped and wondered why you feel the way you do at any given moment? Well, it turns out we are constantly, and I mean constantly, building our own reality. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on how our own minds construct our world, the huge role desire plays in that whole process, and ask the big question, is it even possible to find a happiness that doesn't depend on building anything at all?
Close your eyes.
So there's this great story about a behavioral psychology professor at MIT. He loved to pace back and forth while he lectured. Well, his students, being clever, decided to run a little experiment on him. Whenever he was on the left side of the room, they'd act super engaged, taking notes, nodding along, but the moment he drifted to the right, they'd all look out the window, totally bored. You know what happened? Within just 2 weeks, they had him completely stuck in the left corner of the room, and he had absolutely no idea why. The thing is, we are all that professor, constantly being shaped by forces we don't even notice. And those forces we don't notice, they point to a really fundamental truth. The present moment isn't something that just happens to you. It's not passive. Your mind is actively fabricating it, like a factory, building your reality from the raw materials of your own past. This whole fabrication process basically happens in 3 main ways. First, you've got the bodily level. The most basic is just your breathing, the in and out breath. Then there's the verbal level. That's your inner monologue, how you talk to yourself. And third, the mental level. This covers your perceptions and your feelings. These 3 things are always running in the background, building your experience of right now. Let's zoom in on that inner dialogue for a second, what's called verbal fabrication. It's not just random noise in your head. It's actually a 2-step process. First, you direct your thoughts to something. You focus on a topic. Then, you start evaluating it. You make comments, you ask questions, you analyze it. This inner conversation is what's constantly shaping what you even pay attention to in the world around you. And perception works the same way. It's an active process. So picture this. You see a red light. Level 1 is just the label. Red. Easy enough. Level 2 is understanding its meaning. Okay, that means stop. But here's the crucial 3rd level we often forget. Judgment. Is it really important for me to follow this rule right now? See? We're constantly adding layers of meaning and value to the world, not just passively observing it. So if we're always building our reality through these fabrications, what's powering the whole factory? What's the engine? Well, it's desire. Desire is what propels us forward, pushing us to construct these entire world in our minds, a process that we're going to call becoming. Now, here's the problem. This engine, it can be incredibly messy. For one, our desires are often at war with each other. You know, you want to be healthy, but man, you also really want that slice of cake. Second, a lot of our desires, if we're being honest, can lead to actions that hurt ourselves or other people. And maybe most importantly, we often make just plain terrible judgments about which desires are even worth chasing in the first place. Your mind is always running this kind of secret cost-benefit analysis. It's weighing the allure of a desire, what you think you're going to get out of it, against all its drawbacks. But this calculation is almost never logical. It's all clouded by emotion and, frankly, a whole lot of ignorance. Sometimes, one part of our mind will even try to hide the true allure of a desire from another part, because it knows the whole idea wouldn't really stand up to scrutiny. And this brings us right to this core idea of becoming. Whenever you want something, you create a little mini world in your mind that's centered entirely on that thing. And you also create an identity for yourself inside that world, the you who can go get that thing. The example in the source is perfect. You want pizza. You imagine the world of the pizzeria, you imagine yourself going there, and then you actually go. That whole process, from idea to action, is becoming. It's moving an idea from inside your head out into the real world. And this is our default setting for everything. The source material compares us to beavers, who instinctively solve every single problem by building a dam. We solve every problem by creating a new world of becoming. But because these little worlds are built on shifting desires and flawed judgments, they're always unstable. And this is the punchline. Our go-to solution for finding happiness is the very process that guarantees our suffering. Now, inside each of these little worlds of becoming, you're actually playing 3 different roles at once. First, there's the agent, the part of you that says, yeah, I can do this. Then you have the consumer, who's already anticipating, oh, I'm going to enjoy this. And then there's the commentator, the one who's constantly evaluating everything. Are you doing this right? Is this really going to be as good as you think? And a lot of us, we really can't stand that commentator. We call it our inner critic, and we just wish it would shut up. But here's the thing, we actually need it. The goal isn't to get rid of the commentator, it's to train it. It's to turn it from a destructive inner critic into a skillful, genuinely helpful guide. So, given this messy, complicated inner world, how have people tried to solve this whole problem of desire? Let's take a look at 3 really common strategies, all of which, as we're about to see, have the exact same fundamental flaw. Okay, let's break these down. First up, you've got hedonism. This is basically the idea that you should just follow whatever feels good. The problem, you get pulled in a million different directions at once and you just end up totally frazzled. Then there's defeatism, which says, look, desire is always bad, so just give up and accept everything. This leaves you feeling completely powerless to make your life any better. And finally, there's this middle ground approach. It says, first, figure out who you are, then only pick desires that fit with that identity. But even this is a trap because you're still defining yourself inside one of these limited, unstable worlds of becoming. You see, all of these approaches are what the Buddha called thickets of views. They look like clear paths leading you out of the forest, but they're not. They're just tangled up dead ends that actually keep you trapped right where you are. So if all of those common strategies are just dead ends, what's the alternative? Well, the Buddha's approach involves this really radical, total reversal of how we normally think about this stuff. Instead of trying to manage or crush desire, he actually used it as the engine to get free. Okay, this is it. This is the absolute core of the whole shift. The normal way we do things is define who I am first and then pick desires that fit that person. The Buddha just flips it completely on its head. He says, first, define the absolute best possible thing you could ever desire. And then shape yourself, become the person who is capable of actually achieving it. Your identity serves the desire, not the other way around. So what is that best possible desire? It's actually pretty simple. The complete and total end of suffering. That becomes the ultimate goal. It's the North Star that guides every other choice and every single act of becoming you undertake along the way. And this new path, it isn't about shutting down that inner factory. It's about becoming a master craftsman. You learn to use those 3 fabrications skillfully. You learn how to breathe in a way that creates calm. You learn how to talk to yourself in a way that leads to wisdom. And you learn how to hold perceptions that point you toward freedom. You actually master the very tools that used to build your own prison. And where does all this mastery lead? Well, it leads to a kind of happiness that's so complete, it doesn't need a world built around it. And it doesn't even need a self there to enjoy it. In that state, there are no more desires left. The experience is so total that the very question of who is experiencing it just falls away. Which leaves us with this one last, pretty challenging thought. We spend our entire lives acting like those beavers, instinctually building dams and worlds, completely convinced that happiness is something we have to construct. But if true, lasting happiness isn't a world that you build, then what is it?